What is up, everybody? I think I have a pretty interesting video for you guys today. Going to talk about the digital economy agreements. Going to talk about XRP potentially being at the center of it all when these CBDCs go live. At least that's in the words of Raoul Pal, who is the head of Real Vision, former Goldman Sachs. Also going to talk about Basel III. Going to talk about crypto regulations. Coming from the Board of Central Bank Governors within the Bank for International Settlements. So I'm going to hop right in. Quickly, just looking at price action, we are very much so still battling kind of the 210 moving average on the weekly. This is a level that historically we've always held as support with, full candle body closes. Interestingly enough, I have the 300 moving average pulled up as well. During March of 2020, we wicked all the way down to the 300. We've never closed, candle bodies on top of the 300 before, but it'll be interesting to watch how this shakes out, because if you look at where we wicked down to right here with this first capitulation wick, or, what I basically assumed is going to be the bottom. That's not financial advice, and I could certainly be wrong. Around 17.5 or so, it's right where the 300 moving average is sitting right now as well. It'll be interesting to see if we keep getting kind of pushback from the 210. We need to reclaim it as support. Obviously, we need to start, making some sort of moves to the upside here and holding these prior levels of, these levels of resistance at support if we're going to make any traction in this market. Real quick before I get into the meat and potatoes of this, Hedera has the Coinbase integration for HBAR is basically postponed. Very interesting. I think that, from my understanding, Coinbase was aware of the issue. They're basically displaying public keys instead of account IDs, which is kind of the standard for wallets whenever you utilize HBAR. So they're going to be integrating account IDs. If you're not aware, account IDs would be like, usually it's like 0.0.333333 or whatever. There's like a 6-digit, number on the back end of your account ID. So a little bit more time for HBAR to be on Coinbase. This was a very interesting interview. So this is Raoul Pal, essentially former Goldman Sachs executive, obviously operates, I think it's, Real Vision. But I'm going to let you, he gets asked about XRP, and I'm going to play this for you guys real quick because I think it's valuable to play. Make sure I've got enough volume here for you guys.
From Serkan Orbe, and the question is, what about XRP? Obviously, they're talking about Ripple. Any thoughts there, Raoul?
Yeah, so there's this weird narrative from the past about Ripple. The point being is, even if they have to settle a lawsuit and get a slap on the wrist, Ripple plays actually quite an important role. It's a money transmission network, and it does quite a good job of it. And it has deep connections with global governments around the world and has worked really hard on it. So there is a reason the chain is valued as highly as it is, and it's not from speculation, because actually, it got taken off a whole bunch of exchanges because of the lawsuit. It's actually because when I use my netcast law model, the amount of value that gets transacted on the chain is very high. It's being used. So I think if you lift the legal issue, probability is that the value of the chain increases significantly. And as the world moves towards central bank digital currencies, I think the XRP network is going to be somewhere at the center of all of that. So yeah, I don't rule it out. I know it's not flavor of the day for a lot of people. I think it's a big player, it's a real player, and it has its niche.
I love how the interviewer says, we're getting a question about XRP, so obviously they're talking about Ripple. Yeah, but shout out to Raoul Pal. I mean, I'm not I'm not giving you guys financial advice, obviously, but I think we all know, that, at least in my opinion, the XRP lawsuit is a complete smokescreen because of what's going on globally. And I think that we've all seen enough facts and information out there to state not only how important Ripple is, but what the XRP ledger and what XRP represents within this new digital economy that we're heading towards. And Raoul Pal is basically saying, the XRP ledger is going to be, potentially at the center of all these central bank digital currencies, or at least play a major role in the future. So Got to give a shout out there because I certainly agree with that. he mentioned Metcalfe's law. If you guys aren't aware, just very briefly, it's kind of that network effect that we always talk about. It's basically stating that a network's, this is just very basic, obviously pulling a Google definition, but Metcalfe's law basically stating that a network's value is proportional to the square number of nodes in the network. For example, if you have 10 nodes, it would be 10 times 10, which would be 100. If you have 11, 11 times 11, 121. What's going to be really interesting for me is when we do start, and this is users on the network as well, so it's not necessarily just nodes, it's users of the network, or especially community members, what community is building on top of the network. I think it'll be really interesting when we do see XLS 20 go live. When we start seeing kind of community initiatives and community projects, there's going to be a lot of ones that fail. Unfortunately, that's just the way that the cookie's going to crumble. But those ones that are successful, those projects that build out from the community purview, are going to really kind of push what I would consider the network effect even further within the XRP ecosystem. All right, moving forward into the G20. If you're not aware, the G20 are representative governments from Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Republic of Korea, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey, the United Kingdom, the United States, and the European Union. If you're not aware, there is a massive digital agenda, a G20 digital agenda from this group of 20 that has basically been worked on since 2016 to 2021. And a lot of these digital agenda initiatives, which you will even see with Basel III that I talk about here in a second, lead us towards 2025. On the back of 2025, 2024 timeframe, we've got the Bank of England over the past couple of days putting out a renewed real-time gross settlement document. This is pretty long. I'm not going to get into the weeds within this, but I will say, if you've been paying attention, obviously Bank of England tried RippleNet, Interledger Protocol. I'm sure they've got other initiatives going on with distributed ledger tech. Accenture is I believe Accenture is their tech integrator for the renewed real-time gross settlement system, which we were made aware of, I think, last year. Accenture is a RippleNet integrator as well, interestingly enough. But we do know that their renewed real-time gross settlement system is not going to be built on distributed ledger technology or blockchain, but it's going to be able to interoperate with it. That's from a conference that Victoria Cleland had, who's one of the bigwigs at the Bank of England, with a panelist of central bankers probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. Now, what I find interesting is here, this is a newer document. It's talking about a summary of features considered as part of the roadmap for real-time gross settlement beyond 2024. This stuck out to me. New ways of connecting. An alternative channel to connect real-time gross settlement alongside the SWIFT network. So I'm wondering what that channel could potentially be. And then also linking real-time gross settlement with asset ledgers and payment systems. Obviously, you see ISO 20022 down there as well. On the back of all of this, you've got the governors and heads of supervision reaffirming expectation to implement Basel III in full and as fast as possible mechanisms, and providing direction on future work on climate-related financial risks and crypto assets. So the Basel III implementation, I believe, is going to be fully flushed out by 2025. Again, we get that same time frame, right? But more interestingly enough, this group of central bankers and governors and heads of supervision met and basically stated within this that cryptocurrency, they're planning to have the regulations, the framework for regulations, and for these banks to be able to potentially hold crypto assets by the end of this year. So that's right within this document as well. You guys can check this out. It's on the Bank for International Settlements website. Now, I'll give a shout out to Molly Elmore. I saw this post. Interesting. Basel III also has implications for the gold markets. Would ending gold manipulation by U.S. banks help the European banks that are facing a liquidity crisis? I don't claim to be an expert into Basel III, but I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I found. And I think at the very end, it's very, very interesting. There's an article from investing.com on here. I take it with a grain of salt. It's just an article from investing.com, but something that I plan on digging more into. I know there's a lot of narratives about XRP being pegged or backed by gold. I don't necessarily buy into that narrative. Who knows? I could be wrong, obviously. I just think it's a little bit too, I don't know if it's obtuse. Maybe I'm just being stupid by not believing that that's possible. But, all right. But let me get into this. So gold and Basel III. Now, these are things that I didn't know because I like I said, I'm not an expert into Basel III. But So Basel III full implementation deals a lot in unallocated gold. So unallocated gold is the most widely traded form of gold in the world and is thought to take up 95% of the gold business globally. In London alone, the amount traded daily is worth about $200 billion. But the new Basel III regime or requirements means that banks are required to put up at least 85 or up to 85% of that value of unallocated gold in cash. Now, what this deals in here is, when you deal in unallocated gold, it means the gold does not belong to you personally, but rather to unsecured creditors. I'll get into that at the end there. Okay, so this is what I wanted to go over though. Basel III, what does it mean for gold and silver prices? So this has been kind of in the works since Basel I, Basel II, Basel III rule sets. They have this net stable funding ratio. It's the available amount of stable funding divided by the required amount. This must be equal to or greater than 100%. To put it blankly, for these banks, it looks like within the gold and I believe silver markets as well, they're not going to be able to lend more than they own. So when I get down into this, it's talking about what this means for gold. So really what I wanted to get into here is this. So if they've got all these kind of rule sets in place, right, why haven't the price of gold, silver, why hasn't it went up? So this is basically stating, and I would recommend fact checking this, but I'm just providing it to you because I found it within this video. So if Europe minus the UK and the United States are Basel III and NSFR compliant, which this is, net stable funding ratio compliant, why are we still seeing smackdowns on the metals markets where we see numbers on delivery of selling that are impossible to deliver? So physical gold, physical silver, impossible to deliver. The simple answer is that they must still be going through the back door via London to complete these questionable transactions. Here's an interesting statistic. Less than 1% of traders across the globe hold physical gold. If that doubles, and history has shown much higher percentages, how will bullion desks cope? And what will happen to the price? They won't be able to cope is the answer. They will run out of physical metal, and we will see price discovery. One can only ponder the metals price if these exchanges did not exist. It's talking about clarifying the confusion. I'm just going to go through the summary. This article is literally summarizing, basically stating that the reclassification of gold was sanctioned by the highest levels of government and authorities across the globe. This suggests one of two things. Either they do not believe that a rising gold price threatens fiat currencies, or this is all a part of a plan to have gold at the center of whatever is coming when fiat currencies fail. Well, we've seen kind of these timelines with these digital economy, documents. We've seen timelines with ISO 20022. We've seen timelines with the Bank of England. We've seen timelines with tons of different aspects regarding digital assets, crypto. You can even think about like FedNow and things like this, leading us towards 2025. It'll be really interesting to watch how this shakes out by 2025. And then even on the back of that, you've got kind of all these green initiatives that are being, pushed out by these banking organizations, the financial infrastructure companies, pretty much everybody across the globe that deals anything regarding even a nominal amount of money dealing with green initiatives that lead us towards 2030. So I think we've got some interesting opportunities ahead of us potentially, and it'll be interesting to watch how all this shakes out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Last but not least, you got the International Monetary Fund that deals in kind of that global basket of, sound, quote-unquote, currencies, talking about stablecoins and promoting stablecoins within their homepage, which I thought was very interesting. It's, what are stablecoins? Back to basics with the International Monetary Fund. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will talk to you when I talk to you, as always. Thanks. Bye.